How to boost their self-esteem with your cell phone. About a year ago, I received a call from a man I thought was a big cat, but he swiftly shrunk to a little puss. Marty was the marketing director of an early dot-com company. Most of the dot-coms became dot-bombs by the turn of the century, but as he told anyone who would listen, he, quote, single-handedly saved the company. Marty had invited me to lunch to discuss the possibility of my training their customer service reps in telephone skills. From his swagger into the restaurant, I sensed he was not the shy, sensitive type. As soon as we sat down, he confirmed it. Like a Wild West cowboy slamming his gun on the saloon counter, Marty whipped out his cell phone and whacked it on the table next to his dessert spoon. Before I could even pick up the menu, his hand and phone were again in an embrace. After a barely audible, "Excuse me," he eagerly listened to his messages. I pretended that the menu mesmerized me until it finally dawned upon him that he had a dining partner. After the waiter took our order, we began chatting. Suddenly, I heard an infant crying, but where was it coming from? I turned around. There were no babies in the restaurant. Marty looked at me with a hearty "ha-ha, fooled you" grin. As he picked up the howling phone, he proudly announced, "That's a recording of my kid crying. It drives the wife crazy." "She's not the only one," I murmured to myself. I am so not going to work for you. Being imprisoned in Marty's cell phone hell just wouldn't be worth it. His digital infant howled 3 more times during our lunch. Each time he picked it up and looked lovingly into its little backlit face. He was calculating who was more important, the caller or me. As we left the restaurant, I fantasized him crawling around the house in nothing but diapers with his cell phone attached by a big safety pin. What about you? How many times have you been chatting amicably with someone and suddenly your sentence is cut short by the sound of chimes, Beethoven's Fifth, Led Zeppelin, or salsa music resonating from her pocket or purse? Like submitting to the spell of singing mermaids, she dives for her cell and stares transfixed at the screen for a second. Even if she deems you more important than the caller and then puts it back in its resting place, the damage is done. She had no sensitivity to your feelings, no emotional prediction. You probably think I am going to simply advise, turn off your cell phone before meeting with someone. Sure, that's a good idea, but just average. Here is how to openly demonstrate your deference for someone. One time on a blind date, a Czech architect spun my heart like a top. Ivan Batakuta was good-looking. But that was not the reason. He was well-spoken, but that was not the reason. He seemed kind, but that was not the reason. Curious? As soon as we sat down at the restaurant, without breaking eye contact or missing a word, Ivan reached into his pocket. I heard the power-down music of his cell under his voice. That sweet sound told me that at that moment I was more important than anyone who could possibly be calling him. Did I hear someone say, "But that's manipulative. Why didn't he just turn off his cell phone before meeting you?" My answer is this. Is it manipulative when American soldiers salute a general? Is it manipulative when the Brits stand for the Queen? Is it manipulative when Thai children kneel beside their elders on their New Year and wash their feet with lustful water? No, I say they are demonstrating deference. If the soldiers, citizens, or kids were saluting, standing, or spreading water all over the place ahead of time, the generals, queens, and elders could not relish the respect that they were expressing. And if you turn your cell phone off ahead of time, your friend or colleague won't be able to witness and relish your esteem. Little trick number 39. Let them hear you turn your cell phone off. Demonstrate your deference for someone by leaving your cell phone on until you sit down for the discussion, the dinner, or just precious time together. Then, at the very beginning of your rendezvous, reach for it. Without breaking eye contact, nonchalantly turn the potential interruption off. The lyrics of the power-down music say to that person, For these moments, you have priority over anyone in the world. Oops, you ask? What if I forgot to do this and it rings while I'm with the person? Well, calmly proceed to the next maneuver. It is, however, for the agile only. Just like rolling your coin on your knuckles, the following move demands dexterity and practice. First, place your cell in its usual carrying position. Then rehearse reaching for it without looking and pressing the off key. But silencing it is not enough. Let them hear that sweet power-down song afterward. This little trick is especially impressive if you execute it while speaking and you don't miss a syllable. Practice it a dozen times. You'll get the hang of it. How to deal with a caller when you don't know who the heck it is. I'm sure it's happened to you. Your phone rings, you answer it. A cheery voice says, "Hi, this is Peter." Peter? Peter who? I don't know any Peters. Most people would ask precisely that. Peter who? But because you have emotional prediction, you know Peter, whoever he is, would be devastated. A rude Peter might even respond, "You don't remember me, you know, from the golf course." Then Mr. or Mrs. Average would try to save the caller's face by saying unconvincingly, "Peter, oh, of course, I am so sorry." But it's too late. Poor Peter feels forgotten, and you feel flustered. Not an auspicious start to a pleasant dialogue. Let's do the numbers. Business researchers tell us we meet about 100 people a year by name. Social acquaintances, business contacts, and a few distant cousins who come out of the woodwork. And half of them will have the gall to think that you should actually remember their names. Another half of that half could possibly contact you, and for one reason or another, half of that half will. You are now down to 12 1/2 people per year whose names you don't remember phoning you. Prepare yourself with the following face-saving, yours and theirs, rejoinder. It not only saves the intrusive caller's ego, it conceals your memory lapse. He says, "Hi, this is Peter." With a big smile you say, "Hi, I know 2 Peters. Which one is this?" When he says you met at the golf club, sound like you are so pleased that it is this Peter, not that other one. If he just says his last name and pompously expects that to jog your memory, simply say, "From?" If he's the decent sort, he'll fill in the rest of your sentence. If he doesn't, you probably don't want to speak to that rude dude anyway. Little trick number 40. Tell who's it that you know 2 who's it's. When someone gives only her first name on the phone, and you don't know who the heck she is, say with as much congeniality as you can cough up, "Oh, I know 2. Fill in her name. "Which one is this?" There is a good chance she will happily give you her last name or the context in which you met. How to get rid of those talk-your-ear-off people on the phone. Suppose a ruthless, non-stop talker keeps blithering away on the phone, impervious to your entreaties that you need to go. If your conscience condones, execute the following little trick. There are 3 necessary tools: a sense of humor, 1 small purchase, and a touch of sadism. Go to a toy store and ask for one of those plastic kiddie phones with an authentic-sounding ring. Then place it next to your real phone. I call it the kiddie phone scam. Here's the tactic. Step 1. While a long-winded person is rambling on, press the ring button on the kiddie phone. Let it ring 3 times. Step 2. Say to the non-stop talker, "Excuse me 1 second, my other line is ringing." Then hold the receiver at arm's distance away. Step 3. Stop the ringing on the kiddie phone. Say to an imaginary, very important person, loud enough for the yapper to overhear, No, hold on. I was just finishing up with this other call. I'll be right back." Step 4. Return briefly to the windbag and tell him, "I'm so sorry, I've been waiting for this important call. It just came in." Unless he's out for blood, he'll say goodbye. Little trick 41. Buy a "I gotta go" toy phone. Keep a realistic-sounding kiddie phone in reach of your real phone. If you make it ring and play your role, you can terminate your conversation with an agonizingly long talker in 10 seconds or less. Oh, I forgot the final step. Give a fiendish sigh of relief after they hang up, and then kiss your kitty phone. Part 7. 5 little tricks to deepen the relationships you already have. How to win their hearts a year later. When a certain date rolls around on your calendar each year, do you get that silly, faraway look on your face and indulge in happy reveries, remembering a magnificent event in your life? Was it when you graduated, got your first job, met your spouse, gave up smoking, adopted your beloved pet, or won the 5th grade hula hoop championship? How sweet it is when your mind soars back, your memories get big, and your pupils get small. The special day I remember is when my first book came out. The publisher promised to send me 10 copies. I waited anxiously by the mailbox on the day that I knew they would arrive. When the postman came, I tore open the box and breathlessly showed him the table of contents. I tormented him, talking about each chapter. Perhaps, quote, neither snow nor rain nor heat nor gloom of night could stay the courier from the swift completion of his appointed rounds. But I sure could. When the patient public servant finally broke away from my babbling, I bet he was contemplating writing a book himself about the nut on his route. On the next girls' night out, I chortled about my new work uniform, my pajamas, ha ha ha. I crowed about my new work commute, from the bed to the computer, ha ha ha. Why weren't they laughing? A few days later, I dismounted my high horse and became human again. Life went back to normal, although I did notice the postman avoiding me. Cut to precisely 365 days, 1 year later, I ambled to my mailbox, but expecting nothing special. However, I found a fancy handwritten envelope. Inside was a congratulations card. For what? From whom? When I read it, I was overcome with a severe case of the warm and fuzzies. Several of my friends, who had suffered from my swelled head exactly 1 year previous to the date, wrote, "Happy anniversary on the publication of your first book." I had to hold back the tears. Of course, receiving a birthday or holiday card is lovely. However, it can't compare to the unexpected joy of receiving a note celebrating a happy personal event in your life. It's a law of human nature. The more original and more unexpected a tribute is, the more people will treasure it. If you currently recall, or if you can dredge up, the precise date of something special in a friend's life last year, jot it down. Then commemorate it with a personal event anniversary card when that day rolls around this year. If your memory bank is currently empty, at least lay the groundwork for using little trick number 42 next year. Start making note of happy events in your friends' and colleagues' lives. My good friend Vicki Abraham said she fell in love with her future husband in a hot tub on Labor Day weekend. The following year, I sent her a Happy Hot Tub Day card on September 1st. She says she will never forget it. Little trick number 42. Send a personal event anniversary card. Try to remember some accomplishment or special event in your friends' lives. Maybe the day he got a promotion, or when your married friends met, or divorced. And of course, don't forget the date their little bundle of joy was born. Or when the tot got her first tooth. The list goes on and on. And so does their appreciation of you when you send them a personal event anniversary card. Here's another reason I like this little trick. I once had a tough boss, a textbook bully, who was bonkers about her cat. If she wasn't picking on me or barking orders, she was boasting about Bootsy. I wanted to go deaf every time she gave me the details of his diet, his hairballs, his birthday, even his preferred kitty litter. Now that was the year I had started remembering special events in people's lives. So I sent Bootsy a birthday card. I don't think I'm imagining it, but after that, things got a lot easier for me around the office. How to make them always remember your thank you. When you were a toddler, your parents probably programmed you to say thank you when anyone gave you a present. They used to call it bringing you up right. Now they call it good parenting. When someone gives you a gift, of course you must say thank you. The words have become so common, though, that they sound like ambient noise. The bottom line is that the giver expects your thanks, and therefore it is nothing out of the ordinary. If you really want to thrill them with your gratitude, though, use the upcoming little trick. Here's how it was born. One year I gave my friend Selena an inexpensive little music box. She sent me a thank you note, which I appreciated and naturally expected. A few months later, I received an email from her saying, "Lil, I can't tell you how much pleasure your music box continues to give the whole family. Instead of grumbling and diving back under the covers when I shout, 'Time to get up,' the kids beg me to wake them up to the sound of the beautiful music box. I wind it up and tiptoe into their room every morning. They wake up smiling, even before they've had their breakfast." Her message gave me more pleasure than the little music box could have ever given her. She made me feel like the goddess of giving. Thank you is more beautiful the second time around. Little trick number 43. Thank them again months later. Whenever you thank someone for a gift, make a note to ponder the pleasure the present still gives you months later. Then thank him a second time, detailing how much you continue to enjoy it and why. He will find this second little thank you much more precious than the big first one. And incidentally, he will add you to his list of extraordinary people. How to give them compliments they'll never forget. It feels good when your supervisor passing your desk says, "Hey, good job on finding that folder yesterday, thanks." But picture this. She comes to your desk in the morning, stops, smiles, looks you in the eyes, uses your name, and tells you, "I am really impressed that you took it upon yourself to search for that missing folder yesterday." She continues, "You could have given up when it wasn't in the right drawer, but you stayed late and went through all the file cabinets. You didn't give up until you found it. Good job. Thank you so much." Now that doesn't just feel good, it feels great. Your smile lasts all day. Driving home, you are still purring. You even tell your family about it at dinner. Suddenly, you like your boss a whole lot more. Of course you'll go the extra mile for her again, no question about it. Or picture this. You do a favor for a friend by taking her loudmouth kid brother to the movies and Burger King afterward. As expected, he acts obnoxious the whole time. When you get back, your friend says, "Hey, thanks for taking my little funny face to the film for me." You lie. "Sure, no problem," but you're secretly thinking, "That's the last time I take that little brat anywhere." However, when you bring him back, what if your friend smiled and said, "Hey, thanks for taking Funny Face to the film for me. I'm sure that watching a bunch of cartoon animals jump around isn't your idea of a fun afternoon, but he loved it." And when you took him to Burger King afterward, it was a fabulous surprise for him. He loves triple whoppers with cheese. He came home raving about it. Now you're thinking, "Oh, that's the least I can do for her. She really is a good friend." You're also a lot more apt to say "sure" the next time she asks you to baby brother sit. It astounds me how rare this elongated kind of praise is. When criticizing someone, people stretch it out painfully long with all the gory details until it really stings. But when people compliment, they usually spit it out in a sentence or two. This little trick is easy and the benefits are big. Simply expand your kind words by a few sentences. When they think you're finished, hit them with a few more. The melody and lyrics of your protracted praise make heavenly music for them. Here's a riddle. Why is this technique like foreplay? You probably guessed. The longer it lasts, the better it is. Little trick number 44. Stretch your compliments. Hearing praise is, in a sense, making love to someone. Don't make it a quickie. Extend the verbal smooch as long as you can. If you prefer, think of it this way. An actor relishes a round of enthusiastic applause. but it is ecstasy when the audience won't stop clapping. How to enhance your relationship with your partner. The man or woman we have chosen as a life partner is one of, if not the single, most important relationships you have in your life. It is also the relationship most often abused. When the romance is new, lovers look into each other's eyes and see ideal reflections of themselves. He sees a strong and capable man who has won his fair lady's heart. She gazes into his and sees a beautiful woman inside and out. They feel good about themselves and their partner. They talk lovingly of each other to their parents, to their friends, and to anyone else who will listen. And they constantly praise their new partner. Think about it. If one spoke disparagingly of the other, the obvious question in everyone's mind would be, well, why the heck are you going to marry this person? But often as the years go by, the praise fades and denigration replaces it. How tragic it is that some insecure, insensitive people even complain about their partners to their friends. Don't they realize how it redounds to their own discredit? Between the lines, the listeners hear, I have lousy taste in people, I am cruel, and I am leading a life of quiet desperation living with this dimwit. Shakespeare told us, all the world loves a lover. He forgot to mention, all the world hates a disser. When you express how splendid your partner or spouse is, everyone respects you. In essence, you are saying, I chose the right person for me. I have my life together. I am happy and wise. In my relationship classes, I often ask couples, separately, to write which qualities and accomplishments they are most proud of, and then which ones they admire most in their partner. Afterward, with their permission, the cards are paired up and read to the class. The results astound everyone. Seldom does anyone write that they love their mate for the same characteristics or triumphs that their partner is most proud of. What about you? Is your partner proud of being kind, talented, spiritual, strong, smart, successful, artistic, a wonderful parent? Do you really know? Ladies, suppose you are impressed that your man held down a job while he was in high school. He owned a small business in his senior year, and he was chess champion in his class. Gentlemen, you are thrilled that your lady was the high school homecoming queen, editor of the yearbook, and she started a women's wrestling team. Years later, at a gathering, the discussion turns to the good old high school days. Ladies, you boast that your husband worked all through high school, i.e., he's hard-working, and even owned his own business, i.e., entrepreneurial. Gentlemen, you burst with pride as you tell the group that your wife was the homecoming queen, i.e., beautiful, and the yearbook editor, i.e., smart. Gentlemen, unbeknownst to your wife, however, you aren't that proud of your early business achievements. You want the group to know that you were the clever chess champion. And ladies, when your husband told the group that you had been the homecoming queen, you secretly thought, the heck with all that shallow, superficial stuff. You want them to know what an innovative and strong woman you were, pioneering a female wrestling team. As the wise philosopher Yogi Berra said, one never know, do one? Listen to your partner carefully when he or she is talking with others. Read between the lines to determine which self-qualities please him or her. Which subjects does she like to talk about? What would he like to show off on his expertise? Those are the ones to broadcast to gain respect and admiration for both of you, not to mention the pride and passion it puts back into your relationship. Little trick number 45. Praise your partner publicly on what he or she is most proud of. Whenever you are talking with others, together or apart, allude to how exceptional your partner is, even how proud you are of him or her. You especially enhance the relationship if you tout not just the qualities and accomplishments you admire, but those that are the source of his or her self-esteem. How to react when your partner calls you by the wrong name. Has your partner ever called you by somebody else's name? What was your reaction? Shock? Hurt? Anger? Suspicion? Sure, we chuckle when Grandpa gets the kids' names confused. It's a family joke that Aunt Nellie can't keep her nieces and nephews straight. However, if you call your spouse or main squeeze by another person's name, look out. It can raise doubts, start fights, cause weeks of crabbiness, and even plant the seeds of separation. But whoa, stop, let's analyze this. A person's name is no more than an arbitrary jumble of letters that the hospital put on your birth certificate. Your high school positioned it under your photo in the yearbook. The government put it on your passport. And someday a stonecutter will carve it into your gravestone. Naturally, friends and lovers remember your name. At normal times, that is. However, given a battle between their memory and strong emotion, the latter is going to win out. Especially when it concerns intense feelings like pain, illness, and anger. Ditto extreme joy, love, or sexual ecstasy. Let's take sickness as an example. The average man unabashedly reverts to being a little boy when he gets sick. My ex-husband, Barry Farber, was no exception. Now, to my knowledge, there is no medical data supporting the curative effect of chicken soup for the flu, but Barry believed otherwise. At the onset of his symptoms, I was banished to the kitchen to prepare him a pot of it. While I was stirring the noodles on the stove, I heard him call from the bedroom, "Ulla, come here!" I was livid because Ulla was the name of his first wife, a Swedish nurse. The only reason I didn't throw a fit was because he already felt sufficiently wretched with the flu. I decided to wait until he recovered before making him more miserable. Now, stay tuned for the insight that could help save your relationship. After suffering the Ulla abuse, I stormed off to the grocery store. Fortunately, I happened to run into Sidney Gertz, a friend who is a well-respected psychologist. So I laid the entire Ulla story on him right there in the canned soup aisle. He let me finish, and then said, "Lil, names are attached to emotions. Barry's first wife was a nurse, right?" "Well, yes." He continued, "In his feverish state, I'm sure he remembered Ulla with fondness. She was a professional nurse who gave him excellent care when he was ill. Therefore it was flattering when he called you by her name. It signifies that he thinks of you as a loving nurse." "You've got to be kidding, Sidney. Are you telling me it was a compliment when he called me by her name?" He nodded. I mumbled. "Well, Ulla did take good care of him when he was sick." "Okay," I told Sidney, "but he better not try it when he's better." "Wrong again, Lil," he said. "It depends completely on what is going on at the moment. Haven't you ever called someone by the wrong name?" "Well, yes." "In what context?" he asked. I thought about it and realized Sidney was right. Sometimes Barry and I would argue, and to this day, if someone infuriates me, in a moment of anger I find myself saying, "Barry!" What about you? Does your husband call you by the name of his deceased wife, whom he loved? That is good. Does your wife call you by the name of her ex-husband, whom she hated? That is not. Does your, quote, faithful partner shout out an unknown name at intimate moments? That is grounds for divorce. Little trick number 46. Don't get ticked at the wrong name if it's the right sentiment. Someone called you by the wrong name? Don't get upset. Get analytical. Consider the context. Ponder your partner's or friend's emotions connected with the name that she called you. So what should you then do? To enhance your connection with that special someone, tell her you understand why she called you that, then thank her for the transference of good feelings. Now, here is an important tip for singles, especially if you are a serial dater. Give the person you are currently seeing a nickname, babe, honey, love bug, lamb chop. Then give the same nickname to your next partner, and the next, and the next. That way you'll never goof up. In conclusion, let's take a final visit to the laboratory. Do you remember the two gentlemen we met in the introduction, the CEO and Joe the floor cleaner? There was no noticeable difference between them until they said their first words. The CEO recognized Joe's discomfort and then said, "Good job." He also sensed that scientists need to feel their research is significant, and he expressed confidence in the professor's study. He instantly connected with both men and made them feel good about themselves. Based on the small sample of his sensitivity to the floor cleaner and the professor, the CEO probably uses many of the little tricks we've learned. He offers extended praise to his employees when they deserve it. I'm sure he never talks about his wealth around those less fortunate or uses words too big for his employees. Because the CEO wants to provide a good life for his family and employees, as well as himself, he knows how to start good networking conversations, change the subject when necessary, and escape incessant talkers. His email messages connect with recipients. But what about poor Joe? From the small sample of his self-centered comment, "Glad I could help you out," he probably never thinks to make people feel good about themselves or to save them from embarrassment. He has few friends because he never studied strategies to connect with people by starting good conversations or making them feel comfortable while they are chatting. And, of course, poor Joe would have progressed further professionally if he hadn't sent self-centered, insecure-sounding emails with thoughtless subject lines. Almost half a century ago, the Beatles wrote, "I get by with a little help from my friends." Well, times have changed, but that reality hasn't. Whatever you want in life, you need friends. Nobody gets to the top alone. So what is the key? It is being able to connect with people by consciously predicting people's emotions and reactions to whatever you say or do, and then acting with sensitivity. These 46 little tricks are a great start to get you practicing emotional prediction. Some real people you've met in how to instantly connect with anyone. There are a number of people I'd like to thank for demonstrating extraordinary EP and inspiring these 46 little tricks. With their permission, here are their real names. Arturo Elias, the president of GM Canada from Ontario, for his handshake that makes a powerful connection by touching the shakee's wrist vein. Selena Fisher from San Francisco for sending me a second thank you note saying why her kids love the music box. Tova Svensson, the flight attendant from Örebro, Sweden, for the little trick of complimenting people behind their backs, loud enough for them to overhear. Diana Parks, the speaker from Jackson, Mississippi, for advising me not to use strictly formal grammar when speaking to those with less education. Cheryl Mostrom, the meeting planner from Phoenix, Arizona, for asking me loads of questions about my last few hours, thus showing how it creates an instant connection and easy conversation. Jonathan Rahm, the horse whisperer from Sullivan County, New York, for the incredible power of watching people's faces when they think no one is looking. Giancarlo Parodi, my roommate Sandy's new boyfriend from San Remo, Italy, for speaking exaggeratedly slowly to connect with people who were not as fluent in his language. Camille Mazziotti from Poughkeepsie, New York, for inspiring the shtick name trick by her big smiles when I call her Dr. Camille. Sydney Gertz, the psychotherapist from New York, for convincing me to consider the context when someone calls me by the wrong name. Ivan Batakuda, the architect from the Czech Republic, for teaching me how to demonstrate deference by not turning my cell phone off ahead of time, but doing it audibly at the beginning of conversation. I'd also like to express my gratitude to a few other people who prefer that I just use their first name. Gakuto, the Japanese businessman, for demonstrating respect by holding my business card in both hands. My friends Ebony, Sammy, and Scott for party maneuvers like making an introduction pact with a friend, looking well-connected by waving at imaginary friends, smiling at newcomers in the doorway, escaping incessant talkers, and showing me the advantage of arriving early at a gathering. And my girlfriends Deborah, Vicky, and Patricia for sending me a happy pub date card on the anniversary of my first book. And thanks to the stranger who inspired the little trick to save people from embarrassment Robert's mother on the bus, who cleverly covered my gaffe about her child's gender by instantly changing the subject. And, of course, to the hundreds of males who have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that they do not like sitting with their backs to the door. I'm sure you will succeed in whatever you seek in life. How do I know? Because by listening to this and similar audiobooks, you are investing your time and money in yourself and your relationships. It is the best investment you can ever make. Please stay in touch. You can write to me through my website, lowndes.com. LOWNDES.com. It may take a little time, but I promise to answer your messages. You can also sign up for my free monthly Little Trick for Big Success in Relationships. And, of course, I'd love to hear the little tricks you have used to win the business, the friendship, and the love that you so richly deserve.
Thank you for listening to How to Instantly Connect with Anyone, written and read by Leo Lowndes, directed by Elisa Weberman, recorded and engineered by CDM Sound Studios, and produced by Elisa Weberman and Alfred Martino. Production copyright 2009 by Listen and Live Audio Incorporated. All rights reserved. This has been a Listen and Live audio production. To receive a complete catalog of other fine audiobooks, please call 1-800-653-9400 or visit our website at www.listenandlive.com. If you enjoyed this audiobook, be sure to listen to Goodbye to Shy, How to Be a People Magnet, How to Capture a First-Rate Mate, How to Impress Anyone, How to Make Anyone Fall in Love with You, How to Talk to Anyone, and Undercover Sex Signals, all by Leo Lowndes.